Hey, it's Jake Gagne. Thanks for watching Moto America on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, hit us with it.
Just as many predicted, the defending champion had returned to his dominant ways. Checkered flag flies, and Gagne with his 25th career Medallia Superbike victory. And then Jake Gagne's crash.
There goes that front end. That thing's across the other side of the track.
Opened the door for Danilo Petrucci to reestablish his place atop the leaderboard. The heavyweight fight is back on. Can Petrucci hang on to his 13-point advantage, or will Gagne steal back the lead as Superbikes thunder through the hills of western Pennsylvania? We find out right now. You're locked into the Moto America AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. Our round, Superbikes at Pittsburgh, presented by LaRoche Aviation Services. We're at Pittsburgh International Race Complex in Wampum, Pennsylvania. We affectionately call this place Pit Race. That's what everybody calls it, as the stage is being set for this Medallia Superbike race number 1. As we have a look at Jake Gagne, it's our 8th round of the championship. Race number 16. It is going to be a banger. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pittsburgh. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time world champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, it's really all about this championship. We thought Jake Gagne had been making a big move. He takes over the points lead, and then all of a sudden, the big incident, and we find Danilo Petrucci, who's been leading this championship most of the year, back up front.
Yeah, you talked about a heavyweight fight in the lead up to this race, Greg, but we've seen some TKOs so far. I want to see these two guys battle the whole time and go after each other.
Look at this graphic we have inside the numbers. Beautiful. Gives you a look at Petrucci leading this championship. That's round by round. And then you can see where Gagne took over. And you can also see the slide of Matthew Skoltz and still nursing an injury, and the rise of Cameron Peterson. But for Jake Gagne, he breaks the track record in qualifying, and he's on the grid right now with Jamie Howe.
For Jake Gagne, Greg, he says he doesn't think about championship points. His job as the rider is to get the most out of the bike and himself every single lap, and he did that in qualifying. He got that track record. Made it more impressive, though, because you broke Cameron Beaubier's record from 2019 that was on a Super Pole tire. How are you able to get so much out of this season?
I mean, thanks to this team, we're always trying to go faster. We're always learning, we always got a plan, and we always want to make little tweaks and make the thing faster, even if we're in the front. So, we made some good improvements from yesterday. It's going to be a long, hot, slick race out there, and all these guys are going fast. So, just try to get off to a good start and stay clean and see what happens. Have some fun sliding around.
Jake Gagne is not the only one making those steady improvements. Another rider is PJ Jacobsen. He's with Hannah Lopa.
Jamie, for PJ Jacobsen, he has made huge improvements this season. After a season off, being on a brand new team this year, we've seen him on the podium twice so far, and now his first front row start. PJ, how has the team worked together to give you a bike capable of achieving this position?
Yeah, we just kind of been building race by race and stuff from the start of the year, and now we're here. We're on the front row. Hector is 4th, so we did a good job. And now it's improving the races. And seeing what we can do in the races and see how long we can stay with these guys and improving in that direction. So we know we can kind of do some fast times now. Now it's just trying to put all the keys together and get everything together for the race.
Best of luck, PJ. Guys.
It's so good to see PJ Jacobsen and the Tytler's cycle team up on the front row. Let's take a look at the track map here. Pit Race, Jason, is 2.78 miles long, up and down and entertaining.
And physical on these super bikes, Greg. Turn 1, short run from the start line there down to turn 1, up over Wheelie Hill in front of all those great fans that you can see in our picture. Then we got turn 3, a very popular place to make some moves early in the race. Come up over that top of a big hill, Greg, as you get into turn 7, 8, 9, 10, a very flowing section of racetrack. It's going to be all second gear on these bikes, and then you're going to get into turn 12, which head back up a hill to a very fast downhill turn 14. As you get over to turns 17 and 18, Greg, that's kind of your last chance to make a pass on somebody, to run up underneath them, and then it's a downhill run to that finish line.
All right, so that's a look overhead at Pit Race. Now let's take a more detailed look from Roger Hayden. He's got our Ducati Fast Lap.
Let's look at some spots on my Ducati V4S. As you enter turn 1, the track goes up slightly right before you start to brake. Then the track goes down as you enter, adding more difficulty to get it to slow down. Out of turn 1, you head up over turn 2, that is blind. Not able to see where the track goes heading to turn 3. And then heading up out of turn 5 is a steep climb towards 6. Not able to see the top. And then at the top, it's hard not to let the bike wheelie too much where you have to shut off. And then from 13 to 14, the track actually goes away here, making it hard to see the apex. So hitting all your reference points is going to be key.
All right, thanks, Roger. And your championship points leader, Danilo Petrucci, starts from the middle of the front row. Can he get his 5th win of the season? We find out in a moment.
Well, in terms of protecting that championship lead, he's going to have to find it here and be able to go after Jake Gagne. We heard the guys, though, Roger, talking about Matt Scholes. Early in the season was 2nd in the points, looked really solid, and has now slipped to 4th in the points. Had that crash, broke a bone in that left wrist, and you can see still struggling to get gloves on and the like. Was on the provisional pole, rebounded and was really quick yesterday, but slipped a bit in the order today. I wonder what the issues were and if they're overcomable.
Yeah, I don't know if they made changes overnight and, it just wasn't better today or what, or everybody else just stepped up that much. And obviously for him, was on pole yesterday, 6th today. It's not where he wants to be. He's going to have to get a really good start there on the inside. And even if you look at like mid-season almost, right after Road America, that first day, right there in the points, almost lead battle. And now slip back to 4th is, hopefully they can get their season back on track. Getting hurt at Brainerd and missing that 2nd race really hurt him in the points. But for him, I think this is a track that he likes. Also that wrist, though. This track is so physical, especially on a super bike. There's nowhere to rest. You look at that, the middle part of the track from turn 7 to turn 14. You're just constantly working the bike. So there's not a lot of places to let that wrist rest.
There was, some speculation about when he missed that 2nd race. It was, they decided not to run. Was that the right call? But when you think about how physical this track is, not risking injuring that worse in that 2nd race there. He toughed out the 1st race at BIR. But I think that was probably not the worst decision he could have made. There you see Hector Barbara, who obviously PJ was talking about, but behind him is Ashton Yates, and he has had a great rebound here after a crash on Friday. Has not only come back in both of his classes, but a great qualifying run in the Superbike class here. Ends up 7th on the grid in front of Jake Lewis and Richie Escalante and Hayden Gillum. Great run for Ashton. Yeah, really good run for him, and not too far off the 2nd row, only less than half a second behind Matthew Skoltz, and you can see he's a little disappointed in that. Ran off the track in turn 7, was starting to run out of room there before the air fence and had to lay it down. And luckily for him, he was up and okay, and the team did a great job getting that bike back going this morning. Yeah, they did, and they gave him a quick bike as well, and he made great use of it as the field now setting off on their formation lap to get ready for this 17-lapper here on this very physical and demanding track, one that is an absolute treat for fans to watch and for us to be able to call on. And there's lots to it, but that run, as you said, from 7 to the exit of 14 is serpentine, and if you lose time there, it's going to hurt you for an entire lap. And that's going to be the challenge. And passing opportunities, aplenty here.
Yeah, just passes like turn 1 and turn 3. I think is where you'll see the most passes. We've seen a lot of riders making mistakes in the turn 1 this weekend. And I think with the track temperatures rising, there's a chance for a lot more in this race.
Absolutely. 2 3/4 miles and 19 turns and lots of undulations and blind brows and approaches. It's going to be a challenge. Time to get back over to Greg and Jason.
Medallia Superbike is sponsored by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By LaRoche Aviation Services, elevating your expectations. By Dunlop, the official tire of the Moto America Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Tip of the cap to all of our Dunlop tire technicians that are changing tires all season long in the thousands. Dunlop being the control tire here in Moto America. And of course, our aerial support provided by LaRoche Aviation Services, which are right here at Pit Race this weekend. Spectacular shots of Pit Race. Jay, let's take a look at the starting grid We mentioned Jake Gagne breaks that track record at a 139.344.
You can see, Greg, almost a second difference. And then you have Petrucci. PJ Jacobsen, great run from him on the Tyler's bike along with Hector Barbara, Cam Peterson, Matthew Schultz outside row 2. We have Ashton Yates coming back from an injury crash yesterday. Luis Escalante, Hayden Gillum, Corey Alexander, Dave Anthony, along with row 5 here. Jeff May, Flinders, Posh, Andrew Lee, Travis Wyman, and Ezra Bobier, Jeremy Coffey, Danilo Lewis, and Dunham, Lampkin, Amaya, and Waters. Back there by himself, Ryan Burke's going to try to go to the front. Greg, got to get a good start.
25 qualified for this 17-lap Medallia Superbike affair. As we are ready to go racing after the warm-up lap, all riders in their grid positions as we wait for the last of the riders to form up the grid. And then we'll get word that we're clear to go racing. The sun is out, there's broken clouds, temperatures up, and Gagne talked about it. It could be a slippery and sliding affair all the way to the checkered flag. When that red lights, the upper left-hand part of your screen go off, like they just did, we're rolling. It's race time, and Jake Gagne looks like he got a good launch on the #1 bike. He's going to lead us in, and how about his teammate Cameron Peterson trying to go around the outside. What a great launch from 5th on the grid, Cam Peterson. So now you have a pair of those Frictionline Progressive Yamahas out front.
Escalante.
It's Escalante. Where's he going?
No chance. He had no chance of making that, Escalante. I'm not sure what just happened there, but boy, he's lucky enough to take some guys with him there. I'm glad to see he's okay and up. It looked like there was somebody else that maybe was going to be compromised by that.
It looked like it was Schultz, I believe.
Was it?
It was really,
yeah. That
just got kind of hung back there. So Schultz lost a lot of positions. Boy, that was fortunate for the team as well as the rider, everybody involved, that it was just Escalante going down.
Jake, see Richie's just down the inside. He's carrying way too much speed, and he's in a scary spot there. Matthew sees it happening, and you're right, Greg, it was Schultz. He ends up going across the grass, so he is going to be way back as the Westby rider. He's going to have a lot of time to make up. Back up at the front, though. Cam Peterson, look at him. He is doing his absolute best to hang on the back of Gagne. This is the closest we've seen anybody to him as he gets a good look through this fast kink. And he's doing everything he can to go with his teammate.
This is what Cameron Peterson wanted. It's what he's been working on all season. It's really about these opening couple laps. Can he keep his teammate in tow? And he's doing it right now. And Jay, it's not easy when you're that close to get through the chicane. He's done a good job as the 45.
Hey, Cam right now is like, whoa, this is rarefied air. I can still see this guy's rear tire after lap 1, only separated by 0.2 of a second. So now Cam has seen that, and he's pulling along with the best he can with what Gagne's doing. And you can see Petrucci there in 3rd. How about a 42.8 from a standing start for Cam Peterson?
Unbelievable. Stockhausen qualified, what, at a 41?
41. That is fast. And these 3 guys are already starting to pull away. PJ Jacobsen in 4th, Barbara, Ashton Yates. Really nice work in 6th with Luis Alexander, Anthony and Gillum rounding out the top 10 so far.
So Danilo Petrucci, your championship points leader in 3rd on the #9 on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale V4R. Talking to his crew chief. It's the same story that we've heard for the last 2 seasons on this Ducati, and that is the battle of chatter. It's just getting that motorcycle to work all the way around this racetrack, a blend of the Ducati being developed on different tires, and of course the tires we have here in the United States. And so it's something that Petrucci just has to live with at certain parts of this racetrack, where Jake Gagne sets the pace. Jason, and I mean, for Cameron Peterson, it was unbelievable what he was able to do, really, up until about the exit of the chicane. It was kind of 17-16 onto the front straightaway, where Jake Gagne started to break free. It was right about here where he started to pull the trigger, and Cam Peterson just lost that rear fender toe.
It's just 2/10 though, wasn't it? It wasn't much, but we're going to see a blazing first lap from Gagne right now, and you can see as he uses a lot of body English out of that last corner to come onto this front straightaway. Let's see what the time flashes up, a 41 flat. So I know that you know what lap records are and things around here as far as race lap records. 41 flat, he pulls a full second, 41.9. He's up to a second gap now, Jamie.
For Jake Gagne, he has two objectives in the first parts of these races. The first one is to get that good clean start. He already did that one, but his second objective is always to push the pace early. And what he feels like that does is it forces his competitors into using everything that they have in the Dunlop tires as well. Get that out of the way so that he's able to maintain the pace the second half of the race. And what we're seeing now is him just pulling ahead. He is pushing that pace. He's forcing these guys to overwork their motorcycles just to try and keep up with him.
Yeah, and interesting here, looking at these two now on our screen, Cam Peterson and Petrucci, you're going to see a difference in lines as Petrucci straight lines these things a little bit more than Cam. Cam kind of opens them up, lets that R1 roll through the middle of the corners really nicely. Where it'll become really obvious again here, Greg, is after they come through this fast right-hand kink, you'll see here, Cam will hold it to the right just a little bit more. Petrucci straight lining it, and it's kind of like that all the way through here. See the difference in tip-in points there, even at the top of the hill.
Hannah?
Well, guys, both of these riders on screen right now tried the new Dunlop front compound tire. It didn't work out very well for either of them, so they stuck with what they know. As far as Cam Peterson said, they spent a lot of time on it yesterday, ultimately deciding against it. Otherwise, his race pace feels really great for today. He knows he's really strong through the S's, but 3 through 5, he feels like he's losing a little bit of time. But overall, he's just really trying to get some confidence back after tucking the front yesterday.
And he's got some confidence for sure. And that tire that Hannah's talking about is actually, we've talked about it for years with Dunlop. The tires that are being used in the dry are tires that are made right here in the U.S. in Buffalo. But there's a technology that's coming out of Dunlop in Japan. That's this NTEC technology, this no-growth technology, and they brought that to the front tire. And so those are the tires that Dunlop here in the United States has brought into and have these riders try. And some of them absolutely love them, and some of them just don't quite get along with it yet, but it definitely is the future.
But I'll say this, Greg, it's really hard on a race weekend to you got to remember your sessions are shorter. It's hard to really go out and analyze a tire and not feel like you're wasting some time. You want to make sure if Dunlop brings it, they already have confidence. They know it's going to be a good tire. Now it's just a matter from each rider's perspective if it's going to work for them or not. Most guys will go back to what they know works if they don't really see a problem and then test that tire at another time.
Tytler cycles, a couple of BMW teammates, PJ Jacobsen on the 66, leading the way in fourth place over his teammate Hector Barbera, the Spaniard having a good run at it. And then behind them is Jake Lewis on the 85, Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. So Lewis and his team doing a great job this weekend to make chunks and strides and get faster and faster as the weekend progressed.
Oh gosh, look at PJ's got that thing sideways through that kink, and just trusting the electronics, Greg, on these bikes is such a big ingredient for these riders as they get more and more comfortable. These Tytler's bikes, Greg, you got to remember, brand new team. They've done a really nice job. Speaking with PJ just a little bit earlier, look at him get the thing sideways. I asked him, I said, that qualifying front row, third, amazing. He says, yeah, we just got to work on race paces. We heard him say in his interview earlier. Now, the other thing I know really helps PJ, or he feels does, is this cloud cover. If he says, I got a little bit of cloud cover, it just seems to take the edge as far as the heat away from the track, and it helps these bikes. So they're still working on trying to fix some of that stuff as Petrucci now takes a shot underneath Cam Peterson and makes that pass, Greg, as they go up into turn 3.
So good move by Petrucci. Here comes Cam Peterson down the hill. Is he going to have it under braking? Petrucci's strongest part of racing. Petrucci holding on to second spot. Definitely under acceleration. The Ducati looks pretty good up until that point. Compared to Cameron Peterson's getting a little bit sideways on the throttle.
Yeah, we're going to see now if Petrucci can edge away from Cam. I'm wondering if there was any kind of mistakes, but we look on the lap times, 42.3 for Cam, 42.1 for Petrucci that last time through. So obviously they're very close. So Peterson's going to have to go to school on this Ducati now. And I would say, Greg, when you look at this championship, one of the things that we got to keep in mind, Petrucci's really he's the only Ducati rider here. He doesn't really have any allies as far as people that can really help put people between him and Gagne. He's got to fight for every position he's got right now to try to keep this championship, because we know we've got 2, 3, 4 Yamahas that are capable of running up in the front. So for Petrucci, he's put himself back in a good spot. Cam Peterson closes right up on the back of him now. You can see Gagne just off in the distance, about almost 3 seconds out.
And speaking of that Westby rider, Matthew Stoltz, who avoided disaster at the beginning with Richie Escalante, circulating back in 9th place behind Ashton Yates, Corey Alexander, and Jake Lewis. As you can see Cameron Peterson really spinning up that rear tire. And we're getting word that Andrew Lee, who is in 13th spot. So Andrew Lee is down the 14 bike on that Cycle World powered by Octane entry, is down after a good stock 1,000 race for Andrew Lee. A little hiccup in his program here Saturday.
Glad to see he's up and okay. Obviously, bike looks pretty dirty, and you can see, man, Petrucci's really good in these first few turns. He's able to get away from Cam Peterson as they go up over the top of this hill now. We're going to get a look. There's Andrew tipping off. I'm trying to see where that is, Greg. I think that's turn 12.
That'd be top of the hill heading towards a very tricky section that you've talked about, 12, 13, 14 combo.
It is. See if there's any yellow flags. That's where these guys are headed into right now. They're coming into that spot. There's a yellow flag, standing yellow. So, yeah, must have gone in there and lost the front. Cam kind of chips away here through the rest of that lap as Hector Barber has got through on his teammate. And Jake Lewis now will be the next one to line up PJ Jacobsen.
A look at the sky shows that there's a lot of broken clouds here, but a look on the racetrack and you can see those shadows. That means that sun is out. And PJ, Jason, you talked about it, saying that just doesn't quite have the traction when the sun is out and it's baking this track surface. So Jake Lewis looking to take advantage. So Tyler Cycles BMW, that's the M1000RR. That's the newer model as PJ's getting sideways versus that Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki GSXR 1000. That motorcycle's been around a while in Superbike trim.
Yeah, and for PJ, it's got to be really frustrating knowing you still have 11 laps to go. Your bike is getting that sideways and that loose this early. Obviously, tons of experience from PJ. World Superbike, British Superbike. Obviously, has raced in prestigious events like the Suzuka 8-Hour. So we find him back over here on a Superbike again, which is great as he's trying to close back up on obviously another very experienced ex-MotoGP pilot in Hector Barber. And look at who's coming, Greg. Matthew Skoltz. What a job he has done. He's come from off track. I bet you he was as far back as 17th. I looked early and he was 13th. And he's chipping away at these three now. So I don't think Matthew will waste much time with any of these guys.
And that left wrist injury. What's interesting about Matthew Skoltz, Jason, in talking about his wrist injury, he can't quite charge the corners like he's been, as Skoltz has done a 141.6. That's matching the time of Jake Gagne. So Skoltz, who's in 7th place, matches the time of the leader. But Jay, what he told me, Skoltz told me about his wrist, he said, what's happened is he knows that he overcharges corners. He's talked about it for years, and because of the pain in the wrist, he actually slows him down a little bit into the corners, and he finds it yesterday anyway that he's gone faster because of it.
Well, it's funny how that can work. Sometimes when you're injured, you've got to smooth things out even more, and you definitely don't want to put a lot of extra pressure or weight on your wrists. As you can see, Lewis now had to look over his shoulder. We have a red flag. Red flag is out. We're not sure what that's up for just yet.
So red flag conditions, just as Matthew Skoltz had made a move around Jake Lewis.
It was like Ezra Bobier, maybe?
Yeah, Ezra Bobier.
And that looks like could be the chicane, I'm guessing here. Greg, maybe?
Yeah, quite possibly the chicane, so not a good spot to be there. Possibly clipping the front wheel and going down.
Oh, Greg, that's coming out of the fast right-hander.
It is, isn't it?
That's going to be coming out of turn 14. Interesting, though. He's on the inside of the track there.
Yeah, so 15 would have been the left-hander. Then he would have entered the chicane.
It doesn't
so it's a couple corners back.
It doesn't look like he's fallen. It looks like...
It does look like maybe it was just a mechanical of some sort.
Shock, or maybe it's some sort of mechanical. He's on the inside of the track, so he's in a place on the track that would be actually fairly safe.
Puff of smoke.
Puff of smoke there.
Mm-hmm.
So this might be more of a precaution than anything else from Race Direction to make sure that there's no fluids on the track. So smart move from them.
So unfortunately for Ezra Bobier, it looks like his race might be done. We'll continue our coverage from Pit Race when we come back from this break.
Well, the red flag is out, and for this guy right here, Matt Scholz, this could have been the godsend for him at this point after having that off when Richie went a little crazy and down into turn one and dropping outside the top 15. He's 7th. He's running a couple of incredibly fast laps, and this is going to compress things a lot for him.
Yeah, this is going to be big for him. He's going to be able to get a restart at it. And, you know, we were watching his lap times during that race. He was actually running lap times faster than Danilo and Cam Peterson. So, you know, now he's going to get a fresh start. But he's going to be on the 3rd row, so he's going to get a really good start. See him with that wrist, you know, maybe, you know, one thing too, when you're injured like that, sometimes you don't want the race to stop because you're already kind of warmed up, or, you know, also maybe it needs a little break. So for him with that hand, it could help or it might hurt.
Well, he did an incredible job. I mean, when that red flag came out, he was only 11 seconds back from Gagne, so he was throwing down some serious stuff. But now that's going to help, obviously. And yeah, the question is that wrist now going to tighten up on him? I don't think this is going to be a long red flag because it ought to be a pretty quick removal for Ezra Beaubier's bike. And we were talking here, the reason for that red flag, where he was, you would think it'd be normally a safe spot, but when they come out of 15, they swing over, out of 14, they swing over to set up for 15, and if two guys were side by side and touched, they could have ended up right where he was. I think that was a better safe than sorry red flag call.
Yeah, just where he was at was just a bad spot, and if two riders were got to get together or something.
All right, and there's a look at Matt Scholz, and I think Jamie Howe has found him.
And for Matthew Scholz, your efforts at the start of this race were negated a little bit. Richie Escalante came across the track on you, pushed you further back. What was that like from where you were sitting?
I broke past Barbara there, and out of the corner of my eye tipping in, I could see somebody or something coming through quickly, and I kind of looked left, and Richie was on the inside grass, not even on the pavement, so I just had to, you know, lift up and just run it out wide, otherwise he would have T-boned me. It's very unfortunate. I know Richie, you know, maybe he messed up. He's definitely better than that. You know, everyone's eager to kind of jostle a couple of positions early on, but got a second chance at it now. So hopefully things go a little bit better this time.
We're already watching you come up through the field. We'll see what you got.
Yeah, and let's take a look at what we were talking about. And Richie, I don't know whether he just lost track of where he was or what.
I'm not sure what happened. That was really weird to be going that fast, that far up the inside. It just seems like, you know, maybe somebody broke in front of him really quick and he avoided them, or bike, or it was just weird. But he's a rookie, and maybe he just got a little eager.
Well, we watched the start, actually. We were out on a deck and we're watching it sort of tails away and saw somebody make a big move down the inside. I don't think that was Richie, but maybe that guy got into Richie or got in Richie's way, and he was just taking evasive, because then I thought it was nice that Matt said he's better than that, so something may have happened to create the problem for him. Unfortunately here for Ezra Beaubier, he's done. The good thing is when that big plume of smoke came out, there could have been oil and the like coming out with that, and he very quickly moved it off to the side of the track. I didn't see anything come down, but had there been, he did a nice job to get it off track fast.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why, if it's stuck in gear or something, why he's stuck right there and can't push it off the track. I don't know if there's, you know, like, seems like it must be stuck in gear or something for him not able to move it.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, it could have been the tranny just went. Having a look here.
Corey Alexander's bike. They've had some battery. Was it them who had the battery issues this weekend, or someone else did?
Yeah.
They had the clutch issue.
They had the clutch issue, yeah. And they've been struggling with that, but we know that Tytler's cycle team, you know, you look at where Hector Barber and P.J. Jacobson are going, they've got that, that BMW is pretty dialed up. And you take a look once again, Jake Lewis has jumped up into 6th at the time of the red flag on his Suzuki, but Ashton Yates continuing to show some really good speed. That BMW seems to like this place.
Yeah, the BMWs have looked good. And even for Jake Lewis, this has been a great run for him. You know, struggled last race, and now being right there in that battle for the top 5 will be a good turnaround for him.
And at the start of this race, for a lap, Cam Peterson was able to stay with Jake Gagne, and then Jake dropped the hammer and lit the afterburners. And then Danilo Petrucci, Hannah, was able to get by on Cameron. What's his thoughts at this stage?
An incredible start to the race for you, Cam. How do you plan to replicate that on the restart here?
Yeah, this Yamaha has been getting off the line all year really good, and yeah, being back in 5th place is not exactly where I wanted to, so I knew I had to dial in that start, and yeah, got off the line great, but actually just going to 1, I just, was a little bit deeper on the brakes and kind of rode around the outside of everybody. So, it was nice to get in front of everybody and give Jake that little bit of a buffer in the beginning of the race. But yeah, first lap was really good. I was able to stay with him and pick up on some stuff. And but yeah, just got to dial in a few little things here and there, and I think we'll be good. Race pace seems to be good, so looking forward to it.
Cam Peterson ready to give it another shot, guys.
Yeah, he has just got, one of the most gracious attitudes. Every time I stop by to chat with him, whether it's for an official interview or just, doing a little prep wandering the paddock, he just smiles, walks over, and answers any questions, does it as honest as you can. And you can see 2021 third place in the Superbike standings and sits third again this year. But switching manufacturers and getting to this Attack Yamaha program, a nice step for him.
Yeah, big step, and for him, he's third this year, but he's a lot closer. He's a lot more consistent this year. He's on the podium basically every weekend, and I think for him, jumping teams has been huge for him. Looks like he's having fun, and it's great to see Cameron having such good success. Everybody likes Cameron. He's a great dude and one of the nicest guys in the paddock, and he had some rough years there, and almost walked away from the sport, but kept digging and came back and overcame some things, and look where he's at now.
Yeah, doing a great job, and he's got this guy as a teammate, which on some stages obviously has got to be difficult because of just Jake's raw speed. But on the other hand, it is an immense learning opportunity. And I've been dying to ask you this question. We've talked, my first race was Monterey, but obviously I watched the stuff earlier in the year, and the big conversation has been how Jake, as soon as he twists the throttle, you see him stand the bike up. He's off to the side, but he stands it up, and he just gets huge launch out of the corners. Why isn't anybody else doing that? I'm watching it, and nobody else. I mean, they got to be seeing it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're trying. 'Cause that's definitely
it isn't easy. You're saying.
But that is definitely the way these Superbike riders ride.
Yeah.
I mean, even you see other classes as well, and when Jake's able to do that, he's able to get on more edge of the tire, and therefore he can get on the gas sooner and harder.
Yeah.
Because the contact patch, for the grip is a lot bigger, and you can see it when he's riding. He picks the bike up so soon, and I think that was what he figured out from, one year to the next when he made that huge step.
Yeah, and Jake there, getting ready to head back out and do battle again. And that's the one thing that I really noticed with him, and I mentioned it earlier this weekend. He isn't smooth on the bike. The bike as it turns and everything, he's got it always in the right direction. But he's physical with that bike. But what I think it does is it gets the weight, and the attitude, and as you said, onto the sweet spot of the tire. He's really aggressive with the bike and getting it where he wants it to get the max performance out of it. And he's just on top of it, quite literally and figuratively.
And also, some guys like the bike moving around a little bit. That's kind of where they're comfort, or maybe they don't feel it moving as much as it is. And, when you think about Jake Gagne, he kind of started out in motocross, so he comes from a dirt bike world. And guys, I grew up riding flat track and stuff like that, so I didn't mind the bike moving as much because that's what I was kind of used to. And I think with Jake coming from motocross, with the bike always kind of moving around growing up, I think it makes him pretty used to it.
Comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And that's
and he looks in control. If bike moves around a lot, it's not like he's moving around and you're like, man, this guy's on the edge.
No, you're right. He looks comfortable with it being like that, and we've talked about it before. Comfort breeds confidence, confidence breeds speed, and that pretty much defines Jake here. Michael Hill, you've been down and patrolling the pits during this red flag. What's up?
Yeah, no, I'm down here now just having a little look. It does seem quite calm, I've got to say. I did just see Andrew Lee and looked like Ezra Bobier coming back in on the back of the low loader. I can see Jeremy Coffey down here as well, looking quite calm and collected. He's been out in super stock duty, or stock 1000 duty as we call it here as well. Obviously, this race, when it restarts, guys, they can't change tyres, of course, is my understanding here in Moto America. So no tyre changes. I don't see any real changes on any of the Yamahas. There's not really a lot of work going on with Jake Gagne or Cam Peterson. No real frantic activity around the Ducati. It seems quite a calm and collected and pretty sort of static, very uneventful stoppage, guys.
Well, obviously it wasn't anything that was a big incident that that created this. So I don't think there was a lot of franticness involved in this. Let's check in again as well with Jamie Howe.
Well, Greg, Richie Escalante is going to watch this restart from up in the paddock areas. He's looking for a hat right now, but Richie, still got your suit on. You've been cleared to come back from medical. What happened?
Yeah, well, another big mistake. I brake a little bit hard on turn 3, and for sure when I brake, I say, okay, I can stop. So only I brake a straight line to not touch Matthew and try to not have a crazy crash, and when touch the grass just lose the front, and yeah, it's another big mistake. Always I crash in the first or the second lap, so yeah, sorry for my on that problem, and also now it's just keep learning and focus for tomorrow, but I'm okay, and sorry for my team.
The bike's not here to look at right now. I know you saw it, though, out on the racetrack. What kind of work is out for your team for tonight?
No, for sure the bike is not so bad, so for sure ready, no problem for tomorrow.
Thank you, Richie.
Well, and very refreshing to hear him say just a big mistake on my part. I messed up.
And it's cool to see him. Just look how he just knew. He's trying to avoid everybody as much as possible. And it was refreshing, like you said, to hear him own his mistake, because we thought there was an issue or something. Maybe somebody stopped in front of him, but it was just a mistake on his part, and he owned it, and that was cool to see.
Yep, and all that frustration he showed there was obviously self-directed, not at anybody else, and that's obviously unfortunate. But he is a rookie, and he's a very, very fast rider, but a lot to learn stepping up onto the superbikes here. And unfortunately, this was the guy that sort of paid the price a little bit. But what a rebound run, obviously by Matt, to get back up into that 7th spot.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. The further back on the grid you qualify, you get caught up. Better chance you get caught up in somebody else's mistake. Matt qualifies 6th. He's usually on the front row.
Yep.
Gets caught up in somebody else's mistake, but now he gets another chance at it, and I think he's going to get a lot better start, and he's going to be aggressive early.
Well, and that lap he turned was wickedly quick. I mean, he turned a sequence of them to get there, but I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd fastest lap behind Gagne and Petrucci. So he's certainly got the pace after having that stumbling block in that second qualifying
Looks
session.
like there's a problem with PJ's bike.
Yeah.
If we can go back to where PJ was, the couple rows before the second row, looks like they had some officials over there. Maybe they got it fixed now. But you've seen all the officials running over there.
All right. Well, he moves off.
Yep.
That's good news indeed. So this, again, going to go out and do their formation and then get ready to go back. And if I'm looking at it right, it's going to be Gagne, Petrucci, and Peterson on the front row, Barbara, Jacobson, Lewis on row 2, Scholz, Yates, Corey Alexander, row 3, Gillum, Anthony, Brandon Posh on the 4th row. So with that, let's get back over to G-Dub and Jason Pridmore.
Pit race in Wampum, Pennsylvania. Aerial support provided by LaRoche Aviation Services. Are presented by sponsor for this round of Moto America. As under red flag conditions, we have it all sorted out. And we know what's coming up, including a new starting grid. So this is the way they're going to line up after that race. So it's Gagne, Petrucci, and now Cameron Peterson.
And then we have Barbara Jacobson and Jake Lewis. Scholz, this is a big thing for Matthew. I think he can get up there and get on that podium now. Yates, Alexander, Gillum, Anthony, and Brandon Posh. Flinders, Coffey, Danilo Lewis, and then Hunter Dunham. A couple things I noticed during that, Greg. You saw Cam talking a lot about, initially when they came in, I think that bike's getting really loose up over the Wheelie Hill part of the track, and that's what opened up that door for Petrucci to go through on him. So these guys have already been on a sighting lap. Now they're on their warm-up lap. They'll come back around. But for Matthew Scholz, who we saw coming to the front there, if he can get a good start here and latch onto the back of the couple of the guys in front of him, I think that's going to be a big key for him.
The rules in Medallia Superbike clearly state you can make any change you want to the motorcycle, so there could be some electronic changes that happen for Cameron Peterson. The one thing you can't change is the Dunlop tires. That is at the discretion of Dunlop to say whether the tires can be changed or not, and from what we understand, they're on the same rubber that they were on at the beginning of the race. So no advantage on brand new fresh tires. So you got to race what you had
and
since
now you
the
start
beginning
worrying
of it.
about clutches and things like that.
Yeah,
you know,
sure
getting
do.
hot, especially on warm days, and
especially for a bike like the Ducati, which seems to be a higher maintenance motorcycle than some of these Japanese manufacturers that we see in the field, as well as the German manufacturer of BMW.
And then heat cycle in the tires. You know, we already saw PJ moving around a lot. That heat cycle's not going to help him, I don't think. So a lot of other little things that can happen here. We have an 8-lap sprint here to the finish after our red flag, Greg. Let's see how this one plays out.
All right, so here we go. When the lights are off, we're going. Our second start for Medallia Superbike race number 1 is underway. And it looks like Jake Gagne with another good one, and his teammate Cam Peterson trying around the outside again. Petrucci slots into third, and yeah, Matthew Skults up into fifth, so a much better start for him, at least as we get through turn number 3 area. Down the hill they go. Cam Peterson trying to latch onto the back. Petrucci trying to make a move early, and he'll get it done. So Petrucci moves into second spot. This is what we've been waiting for. Now a clear shot for Petrucci. No, and it looks like Cam P trying the outside again. So kind of a carbon copy of that lap number 2 of race start number 1.
Oh, look at Skults trying to go up underneath. Looks like it's PJ who's trying to sneak up the inside. He wasn't able to make it. Love seeing Danilo Petrucci make that pass into turn 3 right off the bat. Don't let guys get comfortable in front of you. Attack them right away, and that's what Petrucci did. That's going to be big time experience there. Now Camp P's got his work cut out for him to try to get back past.
Boy, that Ducati just couldn't finish 2 corners ago, and all of a sudden now it's another 1/10 of a second gap to the number 1 of Jake Gagne. Gagne with a little bit of slipping and sliding under acceleration for his Fresheline Progressive Yamaha R1.
Again, see the difference in lines. Petrucci gets up to that right-hander and cuts off the entry pretty sharply compared to the 2 bikes around him. And you can see PJ's doing a good job of keeping Matthew back there. Matthew is probably itching to get past Jacobsen to get ready to go into this last corner here. We'll see if that Westby rider and bike can do anything. This is where PJ's bike is getting really loose on the exit.
Yeah, for Matthew Skults, it's that braking zone too, where he wants to try to get around him, but that wrist, that fractured wrist. Oh, Cameron Peterson makes a mistake, Jason.
Yep.
Uses every inch of the racetrack, is able to haul it back in, but he's lost some time.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner. That turn 1's a tricky corner, Greg. You got to get a lot of your hard braking done up the face of that, because once you get to the top and start tipping the bike in and go up over the top of the hill, it just unweights the whole motorcycle. That is really easy to pull on too much lever, or you have to release the lever and let the bike settle itself, and that's what you saw happen for Cam there. He had to just release that lever, let the bike run wide. As you can see, he's in here tight, gets the bike sideways, but he doesn't want to quite tip it in yet, and the bike runs out there wide. Just a simple mistake.
Just like we saw at the start of the race, Cameron Peterson looks like he's got a lot of pace and wants to choose a different line into turn number 1. It's just not paying. There goes Skults up the inside. So now Skults is able to make that move. Just superior roll speed, Skults, and that's the section where he didn't have to, really clamp down on that brake lever with that injured wrist of his.
Yeah, both those bikes were getting loose and sideways, and then Matthew's bike slid and was able to still finish the corner and snap up the inside there. PJ Jacobsen back up at the front here. We're going to get a good chance to see what kind of times these guys are putting out on these tires that are already used, obviously. 43.5 from a standing start last time from the restart from Jake Gagne. So don't be surprised. This could still be in maybe the high 41s, low 42s, I got to think.
That's what I'm thinking. Probably a mid 41 would be the guess. The lap record is a 140.5. Here's Skults with the move. You can see the drive and position as PJ has to lift.
Both bikes getting sideways, but like I said, Matthew's bike able to finish the corner nicely. He's the danger man of these first 3 bikes as far as second, third, and fourth go. He's closed back up on to the back of Cam Peterson. So maybe expect a similar move. We have a red flag. Apparently, sounds like Jeremy Coffey is down.
So Jeremy Coffey, unfortunately, Crashes in this one. That brings out the red flag. A 141.320.
Wow.
Which is still fast. I mean, it was a 41 flat, I believe, that he did that first one. The lap record in race is a 140.550.
And if you're a rider, it doesn't matter who you are at this point, you're getting a little bit frustrated. You've worked out a plan, you've got an idea, and if you're Gagne, for sure, he's been able to do what he needs to do, and now comes into play. Do we have another restart? Is a third time on these clutches and things? So those are all things that have to be thought about. And Gagne is coming up in through that area. This accident just happened.
All right, we will take a break. When we come back, we'll get the red flag sorted and give you an idea of what's up next here for Medallia Superbike race number 1.
Well, that's the best thing of all right there, is seeing Jeremy Coffey standing up. He took a little time. I'm sure he got rattled a little bit, but he's up, and that's the good news. Looks a little bit wobbly, but I'm sure he got his bell rung a little bit.
Yeah, you can tell as a rider, you know when a guy crashes in a corner, most likely how it happened, and there's no easy way off. And turn 14 is one of those. It's a track that goes away, and when somebody crashes there, it's usually the rear end steps out, and they have a pretty big house out. You can tell how his leather's all scuffed up. So tough crash for him. Luckily, just glad to see him up and moving. He's going to be feeling it tomorrow, though, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like that crash may have knocked his visor right off the helmet as well. So, but yeah, great to see him up. But another red flag, and this has been pretty interesting. We've had very few offs here this weekend. We've had a few, but not that many. And today we've had very, very clean racing until this race. You think that's a function of the heat and the cloud cover is breaking a little bit? There's a little bit more sun on the track.
Medallia
That's when we saw
Superbike
the
is
track
sponsored
get
by
pretty slick yesterday.
Medallia,
I think it
the
has a lot to
pioneer
do with
in
the track
customer and
temperatures
employee
being higher.
experience.
A lot of the guys yesterday afternoon, if you think about qualifying yesterday, was almost kind of around this time, and everybody was talking about how greasy the track was and was battling grip. Times were a little bit off, and now that's kind of like how the track temperatures are now, and I think that's just what's going on. There's just, and also the tires have a heat cycle. They're having more laps. Track temperature rises. All that adds up to a greasy track.
Well, those tires are going to have another heat cycle on them here when another restart happens. Let's get down to Michael Hill. Michael, I understand you may have seen that wreck almost in its entirety.
Yeah, unfortunately, that crash was right in our eye line. I was just talking to one of the guys down here, Max Flinders, dad, and we kind of, everyone was pointing. Danilo Lewis's team, we looked across, and it was a big, gnarly crash. It was a high side. He went over the top, and the bike rolled. And good to see that he is up on his feet, though, which is good. But it was, it certainly shook the wind out of him. I've got to say, being down here, though, it does now look a little bit more frantic than it did at the end of the first red flag. I think if you remember when we had that first red flag, I commented on how the fact that everybody looked quite calm. Not now. It's a little bit different down here. Hector Barbera gesticulating quite frantically to one of his crew. He's now sat down with a bottle of water. PJ Jacobsen as well is just talking to Corey Alexander. I'm just making my way along the pit lane. I can see Max Flinders just with looks like he's now got some water, been taking some water in as well. And let's see if we can get a quick word with Max actually very quickly. Max, just obviously not what you want, 2 red flags. How was that second restart going for you? And more importantly, as I'm just commenting, the first one a little bit calm, everybody now a little bit more frantic.
Yeah, I mean, as the tires are going off a bit, the track's just getting a little bit slicker and slicker, so those first couple of laps are really important. You really want to get into the position you want to be in, so it's only going to get more, slick from here. So, I mean, I was pushing super hard on the first lap, trying to get into a better position. I mean, it's unfortunate we have another red flag. The tires going hot, cold doesn't help, but I mean, it's going to be a sprint race now, so elbows out, let's go.
Absolutely. Of course, I'm going to have a little wander as well and just see if we can see if there's any work going on the motorcycles. Like I said, you're not allowed to change tyres, and that what Max is talking about is obviously that heat cycle where they put them in the tyre blankets, the temperature goes up and then it cools and goes up and down. I'm now down by the Warhorse HSBK team, and Simone, who is one of the right-hand men of Danilo Petrucci. Danilo, to be fair, looks very calm. His brother and his mama here this weekend. They've been over in the US for a couple of weeks having a bit of a family holiday, and his brother was very, very integral to the success that Danilo Petrucci had when he was a Yamaha Italy rider back in the Stock 1000 days. And his brother now very much involved. It looks like there's some work being changed there, visor, some work maybe on the inside of the helmet. Yeah, his brother's just actually taking out the inserts. That looks like they're changing the pads, of course. As a rider, the cheek pads obviously are going to get quite sweaty, quite moist, so it looks like his brother is just changing that. You can see some new fuel going into Danilo's bike as well. Again, we've got no word yet in terms of how long this will be. Matt Scholz sat down there still with the gloves and the helmet on, and I guess he's coming back from that injury. It's probably the best thing for him to keep the glove and everything on, so maybe it's not going to help him with having to stop and start again.
Hey, Michael.
Let's just make our way a little bit further along to the team down here. And Greg, I mean, obviously I'm just waffling as I'm walking along, but it's strange. It seems to be a pit lane of two halves. You've got a couple of riders that seem quite frantic, and then obviously all calm. When I'm looking now at Cam Peterson and Jake Gagne, they look very, very relaxed.
Well, I was going to mention to you one of the reasons Hector Barbera might be pretty frantic. He had a horrible start on that restart and plummeted like 3 spots. So I wonder if he wasn't trying to get something adjusted here to be able to get him back up and after it again here.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And as I said, the Tytlers BMW team are down here. You remember earlier in the season, I forget which race it was, maybe Virginia, when Danilo Petrucci was talking about the clutch and having to go through these race starts, of course. I'm trying to see if Hector is still here. Hector, in fact, putting the helmet back on. So have we got an update on our timing screen down here? It looks like it's going to be a 5-lap resprint, guys. It's going to be a 5-lap sprint. And this is going to be pretty exciting, as Max Flinders said. It's a 5-lap sprint with grid positions based as they were at the previous restart, because of course they hadn't completed 2 flying laps. So it's going to be Gagne, Petrucci, Peterson on row number 1, Barbera, PJ Jacobsen and Jake Lewis, Matthew Scholz, Ashton Yates and Corey Alexander will complete row number 3. But yeah, helmets are going back on down here. I don't think we're going to get a chance to talk to anybody. It looks like the medical car has now come back in, and also the bike of Jeremy Coffey is also making its way into the top end of the pit lane here that I can see. So we haven't got too long to go. In fact, they've now just put up a timing board. There is literally 64 seconds until pit lane opens. Back to you, boys.
All right, thanks very much. And Roger, I'll tell you, red flags giveth, red flags taketh away. Matt Scholz got a great opportunity with that first red flag to get him up into 7th to let him restart. This one, he was up into a lot farther along. He's got to go back to 7th and do it all over again. He's got to be feeling like a bit of a yo-yo right now.
Yeah, definitely. The first one helped him a ton. This one kind of hurt him. But overall, the red flags are going to play into his favor, because he's still going to have a chance at the podium. Even starting 7th. If he can just get a little bit better start, looks like he has the pace to be in that podium battle for sure.
Absolutely, and once again, if Cameron Peterson can get the same kind of start he had on the first 2 starts and get in front of Danilo, that's what he's going to want to play out. And is this going to give anybody an opportunity to get in front of Jake Gagne off the line? I don't know. I mean, these Yamahas really seem to get off the line well. They have those clutches really hooked up.
And also, like you said, Jake gets really good starts. So
yes.
I haven't, to be honest with you, last year and this year, I don't think I've seen anybody beat him out of turn 1, besides maybe once.
Yeah, and even when at Brainerd, if you recall, when he was starting on the at Laguna, he was 3rd and back and led both times into the first turn. Yeah, he's just remarkable on the starts.
He really is, and just gets that focus, gets it right going, and is really, really good at it. And for him, it's played into his favor, and it works. And just makes your job a lot easier if you can get out front and get into your pace when you have the pace like he has, and get away, not get caught up in other people's mistakes. We see other people get caught up in maybe somebody else's mistake, and when you get out front early, you don't have to worry about that.
And I would think now, as you pointed out, these tires now with 2 heat cycles on them, and they're a bit worn. 2 heat cycles, it's warm out there. Does that play a bit into Jake Gagne's hands, because he has such an amazing feel for the bike right now that everybody else is going to be skating a bit, and he's more comfortable with that?
Well, You know, it's different with the heat cycles. There's sometimes I've had tires where when I raced, a heat cycle didn't bother, not at all. You couldn't even tell there was a heat cycle. There was other tires I've had, you know, situations maybe at a different race, a heat cycle and the tires seemed like they put something totally different back there. So each one seems to respond different, and some riders respond different to tires with the heat cycle. And this is a lot. This is now having even another heat cycle. These tires are going to have a big fall off.
Yeah, I would think so, and it'll be interesting to see who gets on top of that a little bit quicker. As again, it'll be Gagne, Petrucci, and Peterson that front row. Barbara, Jacobson, Lewis row 2, Skolt, Yates, Alexander row 3. And Gillum, Anthony, and Pash in the 4th row. And Max Flinders, he's another one of those guys who's just, no matter what's going on, when you want to walk up and have a chat with him or get an interview, he's just welcoming and, yeah, sure, let's chat. And that's why I think he's a pretty big crowd favorite for that reason.
He really is. Everybody wants to see Max do well. He's a true privateer. Does everything on his own, drives the rig, works on the bike. Puts so much effort into making it to all these races. And at Brainerd, he was having a great weekend, just the races had some bad luck.
Yes, exactly. All right, there is Mr. Gagne taking up his position on that attack Yamaha. Going to be fascinating to see who gets off the line on this one again.
I'll tell you one thing, one person I'd like to see this red flag is Hector Barbera.
Yeah.
He faded back to 7th. I don't know if it was just a bad start or what, but he gets another crack at it now.
Yeah, it was not a good launch, and yeah, this is golden opportunity for him. And so we'll see how it plays out as we get ready for what we hope will be the final 5-minute or 5-lap, let me put it that way, sprint here for the Medallia Superbikes. Back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
Medallia Superbike is sponsored by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By LaRoche Aviation Services, elevating your expectations. By Dunlop, the official tire of the Moto America Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
So back at Medallia Superbike race number 1 here at Pit Race, and we know that Jeremy Coffey from Vancouver, Washington on the Triple M team got up and he walked over to the ambulance. He won't be participating in this, but at least we know that Coffey was up there. At least I don't think. Maybe he's back on the bike.
No, he's. I saw him get in the back of the ambulance as well, Greg, and looked like he had the wind knocked out of him pretty good. So I hope Jeremy gets better. Maybe we'll get to see him back out here tomorrow.
All right, so a 5-lap now sprint race.
Insane race of attrition, hasn't it been?
A couple heat cycles in those slick tire, Dunlop tires as well. It's not a full heat cycle. It's not like they dropped in temperature all the way down to ambient temperature, but nonetheless, these cool down laps and warm up laps, the temperature definitely gets tested.
Yep.
So we started this race with 25 riders. We're now down to about 15 quick start procedure. So we're going to roll to the starting grid. It'll be Gagne, Petrucci, Peterson, Hector Barbera, PJ Jacobson, Jake Lewis. Matthew Skoltz will start from row 3 with Ashton Yates and Corey Alexander. Hayden Gillum, David Anthony, Brandon Pash. I think the question for us, Jason, as we were talking in the commercial break, is clutches. This is going to be that third start on the clutch. So who's been easy on their clutch?
Hard. It's really hard, Greg. I mean, between that and tires, just the heat cycles through the tires and such. Really impressive to see PJ riding the bike the way he is, even at the restart of that last race. He's definitely putting in that hard effort. And for Matthew Skoltz, this is again another big opportunity for him, as see if he can get that start again from the 3rd row.
Here we go, another test for Jake Gagne, if he can get a good launch. And it looks like Petrucci got off the line with a little bit of a hiccup. So the 45 Cameron Peterson will slot behind his teammate Petrucci up the inside. So Petrucci,
he actually had a really good start, Greg, and then Cam went across the front of him. Petrucci just fired it right back down the inside of him in turn 1.
So no dramas for the clutch on anyone's motorcycle at this point, as Petrucci trying to find some room up the inside on the number 1 plate. Gagne doesn't get it done. And behind him, Cameron Peterson leading a train with Matthew Skoltz. They're in 5th place, just behind P.J. Jacobsen.
P.J. again in fourth, and look at that BMW just snake its way up the hill. Matthews' bike also getting a little bit loose and sideways as they went up the top there as well. You see Hector Barbera, Jake Lewis, Corey Alexander, and Hayden Gillen following in tow. Let's see if Matthew can make quick work of PJ. This is where he did it right before we went red last time. He wasn't able to do it. You can see both bikes getting really loose out of that turn 8 area. Look at how close he is. He's trying everything to get through on PJ as he realizes he's only got about 4.5 laps to try to do something with those guys in front. He doesn't want to see them continue to disappear.
This red flag really benefiting Matthew Skoltz and his ability to kind of run. He told me, Jay, 3, 4, maybe even 5 laps was good on the wrist, but doing the full complement of 17 in a row that this was scheduled for is going to be really painful for him.
Well, you know, when you have an injury like that and you get into a race with him like he was in, it sometimes can be hard to get started again and stop and then start again even more so. But to be fair, the red flag worked in Matthew's favor. Obviously, we saw him at the first start. We saw Richie Escalante make a mistake up in turn 3 and took Skoltz off the track with him. So I don't know if he would have clawed his way back up all the way up to the spot where he could potentially get on the podium if he's able to get through on PJ. I'm blown away by how well PJ's riding that bike, considering how loose it is. As you can see a little further back, it looked like Jake Lewis was trying to do something with Hector Barbera.
So Gagne, a 43.5 from a dead stop, even on the third start of this race. Oh no, someone's down.
Who's fallen? Is it
Gagne or Peterson? It's one of those two.
Can't see the rider.
Oh, it's PJ.
It's PJ Jacobsen. Yeah, it's like so hard when we couldn't see, huh?
Sorry, I thought that was blue that I saw, so it looks like it's 66 PJ Jacobsen down. So out of 4th place goes PJ.
He was riding so hard, Greg.
Dude, and I don't even know how he was on the bike going that fast anyway. The thing was so loose. So, no dramas. Jake Gagne for your championship, 2nd in points, trying to defend his title. Gagne still holds on to the lead. Petrucci, your championship points leader, back there in 2nd spot. And Cameron Peterson in 3rd. That's going to move Skoltz up with a clear track in front of him into 4th. Now we're going to see what tire Skoltz has underneath him and see if he can get into a rhythm. But it's such a short race as now we're like 3.5 laps till the end of this one.
Yeah, he's going to do everything he can to catch his countryman Cam Peterson. I'm really impressed though, Greg. Danilo Petrucci doing a really nice job right now, keeping that pressure on Gagne. If he can keep it to where it just keeps saying +0 or +1 on that board, it's going to at least give Jake something to think about. Cam Peterson in this last section seems to be able to close up on Petrucci in like the last quarter of our lap. And then Petrucci does a really nice job from turn 1 till about turn 7 or 8 of getting back away from the 45. As we look at the times of 41.3 still. Now these tires have been heat cycled 2-3 times now.
What a testament to how good these Dunlops are. And Jay, when I look at Danilo Petrucci and you look at the amount of time he's had at pit race, don't forget last weekend he was here racing an endurance race with his teammate Josh Herrin. And one of the things that I was told about that endurance that they did was they never changed the front tire. So Petrucci has got experience. I know it was on the 955 V2, a motorcycle of which Petrucci helped to develop with Ducati some years ago. At least he's got a lot of experience on used tires here around pit race that he was able to garner from his experience last weekend.
And the bike looks so much better today than it did even yesterday to me. And I heard some interviews from Danilo last evening, and boy, what I saw on the track, it seems like when he gets up to speed on this bike, everything looks great. The second he tries to push just a little bit more, the bike seems a little bit more unrideable for him. Now, looking at it here on used tires and seeing Gagne still not that far out, definitely is encouraging, I think, for Danilo. They've definitely done a nice job, has that team, in getting a bike I think that's going to be a little bit better for him today. And with the information they'll get from all this, maybe make some improvements on that bike overnight. This guy's going to come around here in a minute, Greg, and he's done a nice job pulling away from the 3 behind him with about 2 laps to go as he comes by this time.
The thing that has impressed me right now is that fresh and lean progressive Yamaha, looking at Cameron Peterson, and what we saw from Jake Gagne a moment ago is that when Gagne's under acceleration and the bike starts to spin and get a little sideways, it's such a controlled motion for the Yamaha R1, and it looks like Gagne is super comfortable with the thing going a little sideways.
Well, it's going to give him a little bit of a confidence break if he did see a +1 on his board that time. It's actually about 1.5 seconds now, is it, to Gagne to Petrucci. Matthew Skoltz doing such a good job as well, trying to close up. But see how Petrucci pulls away in this first sort of third of a lap? He gets away, and then Cam and Matthew Skoltz both are able to close back up on the last quarter of a lap or so. So right now, Cam Peterson's a little bit too far back, kind of falling in the clutches of Matthew Skoltz. And then you start to think about, does Matthew have enough strength in his wrist to try to make something to where he can go by it back? Cam Peterson's lost a lot of time on this lap, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has.
That first split.
Yeah, definitely something is not feeling the way it felt the first couple of starts for Cameron Peterson. This is going to be very interesting information to take back to the teams, too, when this one is over for improvements tomorrow if it stays dry, because you're not going to have that consistent race laps in a row to figure it out. But these different race starts are going to give you some other information. Gagne continues to lead over Petrucci. We're watching the battle for third between 45 Cameron Peterson on that Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha and number 11 Matthew Skoltz on the Westbeat Racing Yamaha R1.
Is there anywhere that you've seen where Matthew could take a shot? Maybe in the S's?
It just depends.
Yeah.
I think really it's going to be one of those throttle spinning kind of a situations for Cameron Peterson if he opens up the door. So Petrucci well slotted in second spot. And for Skoltz on this final lap, so the white flag is out in this 5-lap restart. A good run, but it's about how much force can he put into his wrist. If he really has to brake hard, he's going to ease by. He does it under braking. And Matthew Skoltz, he gets it down there, but hey, there was no way for Cam Peterson, nowhere for Cam Peterson to go. But we know Peterson's been fast down the hill and no room.
Yeah, Matthew did a nice job there of controlling his exit out of that turn 4 area and getting down the hill. We've seen Cam turn back up underneath people. I just don't think Cam maybe has the tire underneath him. Matthew's been really good at the beginning of these S's. When he was following guys earlier, he was able to close up on him in this section and then make passes. And you can see he's pulled away a little bit from Cam Peterson through that turn 7-8 area. He's going to be all eyes forward now, trying to pull himself away from that 45.
On this final lap of the third start of Medallia Superbike race number 1, and it's all on this guy in the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha. Jake Gagne, 13 points behind. Second place, Danilo Petrucci on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale V4R. If this finishes the way we think it's going to, this is going to take it down to single-digit numbers in terms of the difference in the championship. Unless Matthew Skoltz can pull off some miracle here and put himself between Petrucci and Jake Gagne. And there goes Skoltz trying to get around the outside. Petrucci with a bit of a mistake. But the run to the checkered flag, here he comes. Jake Gagne, after 3 starts, will take victory. And a shot by Skoltz. It doesn't pay off for second. But Matthew Skoltz, after a dramatic day of racing, able to put it on the podium.
Really good stuff from all of our top 4 guys. I think that's a big boost for Petrucci, seeing how close he was there at the end, and they'll look at that stuff. Matthew Skoltz was really excited with his 3rd spot. You could see when he came across the line. Camp P were a little bit further back. Jake Lewis, Greg, ends up 5th over Hayden Gillen. Hector Barber ends up 7th. Corey Alexander 8th rather. Yates and Dave Anthony are going to round out your top 10.
So unfortunately for PJ Jacobsen, he goes down on this restart. So all riders scoring points in this restart. So 2 seconds the margin of victory in a twice interrupted Medallia Superbike race number 1. And fans around the racetrack here, they are packed into pit race, Jason. And air horns going off for a good run by Jake Gagne, who closes the gap. I'm no math wizard, but I'm going to say it's going to be about 8 points the difference. But when we come back, we'll hopefully hear from Jake Gagne about his experience in today's race.
Well, that was an interesting 3-part race that this crowd got to enjoy. And the interesting thing for me is Matt Skoltz, you look at that last lap time that he turned a 41.8. Gagne at a 42.18, Petrucci at a 42.3. Scholz was flying right at the end and just overran turn 17 in that attempt to go around the outside.
I mean, one more lap, I think Matthew Scholz is getting second.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what really happened in that corner there was Danilo was blocking the inside and was going to make, if anybody was going to pass him, they're going to go around the outside, which is, you know, probably impossible to do there. And, you know, what a ride by this guy. You know, just doing what he does. He's got it down to single points again and back to making it close.
And 3 really good starts. The last one wasn't the best of them by any stretch, but somehow he just manages to go that little bit deeper into one when somebody's there and just come across the nose and take that lead away.
And he's smart too. When you watch him race, I was watching that start, and like headed to turn 3, he's way to the left where nobody's going to be able to make a dive bomb. They're not going to be able to pass him. They're not even going to have the opportunity to, you know, to make a huge lunge because there's going to be no room. And, you know, it seems like he's really good at that first lap, not leaving any doors open. And from there you can get that gap. And, you know, it's not the fast way, but even when he does that, he seems to be able to pull away a little bit. Then he gets in that rhythm. And, you know, to be honest with you, when he gets in that rhythm, it's game over.
Sort of a mystical ability that he has to put his bike where the other riders are going to want to put theirs if they're going to try a pass. And and like, you know, Danilo did to Scholz in that last corner, just like you're going to do it, go around the outside. That's a long way around. Going to be tough.
It is going to be the long way around, and you know, it was kind of a strange race with all the restarts, and you know those guys kept Jake pretty honest there. But if you think about it, Jake won by 2 seconds. It was only a five lap race. That's going to be a little bit discouraging. And you know, I'm just shout out to Dunlop.
Yeah.
You know, the tires being that good, that many restarts and little heat cycles on them, and still doing low 41s.
Yeah, really impressive, no question about that. Obviously, they gleaned a lot of knowledge from that endurance race last weekend, but still just coming up with the right tire to make it happen, and Jake Gagne doing what he had to do to make it happen. But Matt Scholz, what a great run by Matt Scholz to get it back up on the podium. Let's get back to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
Look at the results for Medallia Superbike race number 1. 2-second margin of victory for Jake Gagne over Danilo Petrucci. Then Matthew Scholz on the podium, just ahead of Cameron Peterson. Jake Lewis and Gillum. Let's get right down to Hannah.
Our winner today, Jake Gagne, by another pretty decent margin of victory, but a couple restarts there. What was it that allowed you to continue to restart so consistently?
This Yamaha just gets off the line good. Yeah, it's a little... When you get a good start, it's a little frustrating to see a red flag, but at the same time, you know, somebody goes down, and we got to hope that everything's all good, and hopefully everybody's okay from those crashes. And but yeah, we had to get 3 good starts today, and we pretty much managed it. This Yamaha Attack Performance Fresh and Lean bike was just working awesome. So hats off to the team, you know, because we've made a lot of progress throughout the weekend. That's always our goal, is keep going faster. And hats off to these boys. I know we're in for an interesting day tomorrow. We might get a little weather, so it'll be fun. And yeah, again, thanks to Fresh and Lean, Progressive, Attack Performance, Arai Helmets, Alpine Stars, the whole crew, man. We're all working hard, we're having fun, and racing motorcycles, so it's a good day.
Jake Gagne chipping away at that points deficit. Let's get over to Jamie with our second place finisher.
And that is Danilo Petrucci, our point leader. Currently, the third start, the second restart was your best of the race. How were you able to control that up and down of the adrenaline that you felt with the red flags?
Well, it was tough. The track today was really greasy, and we already suffer a lot of lack of traction. And I understood immediately today gonna be really tough. But yeah, I try everything, especially in the first lap. And the first corner, I try to brake as hard as possible to stay in front of Jay, but he brake harder. And yeah, we just need to improve our performance, try to find that traction we miss, and that's it.
There's another race tomorrow for Danilo. Congratulations, second place, Hannah.
Jamie, third place today goes to the Westby Racing team, who came into the weekend with a much calmer approach, much less aggressive than the last couple of rounds. It certainly made the difference for you today, Matthew Schultz. Now, despite being injured, how did those restarts affect your performance? Because you were trying to make a move on Danilo at the end there.
I mean, both of those restarts didn't help. I knew that 17 laps would be harder on my hand, but I think the worst part about it was having a 5-lap race starting from 7th. You know, we usually try to set up the bike from the halfway point on to battle at the end. But, you know, I'm just happy to be back up on the box here. We haven't been up here since we won at the Wisconsin round. We've had some bad luck. I've had a few crashes when I maybe shouldn't have, so I'm just really thankful for the Westby boys and my team. And you know, I think that the weather doesn't look good for tomorrow's race, and usually in the wet I'm pretty good, so I'll challenge these two boys up front.
Thanks, Matt. Congrats.
That's a really good point. It has been such a long time since we've seen him. Here's a look at those point standings. Petrucci still leads the way. It's only 8 out to Gagne. Cameron Peterson right back there in third.
And you've heard all these guys talk about the weather, and that guy you see on the screen leading the points is well known for how good he is in the rain. And Matthew Schultz, really good in the rain. Might be a duel between a Yamaha rider and Petrucci, but it might not be Gagne. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. The MotoGP veteran Petrucci on a Ducati, which is also known to have amazing electronics in the rain. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Will the weather hold out, or are we going to have a wet Medallia Superbike race number 2? But right now, it's all about this particular moment as Danilo Petrucci makes his way onto the podium for second, as everybody awaits the arrival of our number 1 plate, who's trying to defend his national champion, as now the representative for Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha will come up and get the trophy. That was a very interesting one. A couple of race starts and a win from Jake Gagne. We cannot wait to see the next one and what happens on Sunday's race here at Medallia Superbike race number 2. We certainly hope you will join us. Well, for Hannah Lopa, Jamie Howe, and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White.